Alright, hello everybody. So, this is Knowing What Will Come Part 8, and here is the poem. Alright, and then my meaning to the poem. Knowing What Will Come Part 8, something is about to happen. Something big that begins to break the darkness. Evil. When this happens, it will be the catalyst that brings about the downfall of evil, and after that occurs, eventually, it will just be a bad memory. Light wins. So, this one is, I gave it a 0.5 on my check mark because this light part with the light has not occurred, and you'll know when it happens. You'll definitely know when it happens. So I'm gonna get into this. Um, so you'll know when this happens, and this is about to happen. It's kind of the moment I've been waiting for. I definitely thought this moment would happen a lot, would happen faster. But this is one of the things that was hard to basically do when I was reading these documents. At first, when I read the documents, I didn't really believe them because everything was weird, as I've stated in many videos, and weird because it did talk about the whole transgender situation and the bathroom situation and all all the weird stuff that you see and happening. And I was reading this in the late 1990s, and if you remember living in that time, um, my cat, um, if you remember living in that time, like if you were to take today, well, hello there. Yeah, you're a good boy. Good boy. If you remember, like being in that time, like if anything was happening like today, uh, well, we just wouldn't have put up with it back then. And that's kind of how much society's changed in almost 30 years. Because we're only like about 4 years away from when I read these documents in 1998. And it's just so bizarre and strange. I didn't even um, think about it. The guy even talked about streaming services and uh, and the main reason I know this or I remember that part quite well was because I was in 2000 what 3. I was working for Blockbuster 2004. Yeah, 2004 was when I left. But before I left, they were talking about how Redbox was kind of taking over the territory there because Austin was a testing site. And uh, I was on the phone with my mom, telling my mom about it, and I was like, "But it's not this that ends up winning out. There's something weird that's gonna happen." This guy described like uh, cable would be like going away, and that people would be like um, buying stuff. They would be like he didn't say subscribing, but would be like getting contracts or something like that with um, um, like channels. Like it was you'd just be watching channels, and I thought that was kind of weird, and I also kind of thought it was limited in a way. But to be honest, man, I kind of like streaming services sometimes a little bit more than having cable in a way. Um, But it does. But when I was reading that, I kind of thought that was weird too. And it's yeah. So I mean, compared to like when I first read it, I thought that this like when I first started reading it, I thought it was just a complete joke, and I didn't really take it all too serious. And that's why I'm trying to um, talk through this process, and I'm going over my poems because once I realized it was true, and I realized it was true when 9/11 happened, that's when I started jotting things down and including it in some of my poetry. And that's why I'm going over some of my poems, because I did leave certain clues to things that are supposed to take place and everything like that. It was, and the main reason I thought of that was because I'm a student of history, and I know in history things were written down in poetic form to remember things. And so I basically borrowed that process. Um, and I'm going back through and I'm looking for that. Um, and there may be some that have some that I won't share because it may be like minuscule, or I may not find it worth talking about or something like that. So I'm not gonna go through like every single one. But I'm gonna go through a lot. I will say that much. And then I also have videos of me just, talking about what's going to happen. And I'll be going through those too. And um there and then there's some on this channel that I interrupt some of my videos and I talk about it because YouTube started censoring me. And then um there's also uh, because I knew that YouTube was kind of watching me. Sometimes I would purposely lie in some of the videos just to not seem too accurate. You gotta kind of throw them off. Um, and so if you see me ignore things or not talk about some things in videos, but it's in there and I got it wrong, uh, they I could have done that on purpose, just to throw people off. Uh, because I was, yeah, during the whole COVID period, I don't know, yeah, I mean, the main purpose for this whole thing really is for my novel, but I think it's creative to do it this way, and I think the best, and I want to tell uh, a story of what's going on, a story where I put all my knowledge into everything, so it's not lost. Um, because I do know a lot of information, and the most important information that I think, or I believe that I know, is how to raise consciousness. It was one of the focal points in my dissertation, and I'm trying to pass that knowledge on. And I also think that that's a good way to do things. That's how most knowledge has been passed down in the past. And it also allows me to work through maybe some of the contradictions, or some of the contradictions that I see, and also within maybe my own realization. Um, because you get a lot of you get different evidence when you put things in a character format because you're living your life kind of through them in a way, or you're understanding their reality, which changes perspective. And that and there's a lot of truth in fiction, and it's a good way to hide truth, especially when you're not free to speak about it. And I wish I was free to speak about it. I will be writing nonfiction books too about this, but those will probably be for maybe more of a different audience, or maybe um, for or maybe something to look at after you read the novels. It just depends. I'm trying to hit different ways to get. I'm trying to do different things to get different. Um, I'm trying to do different things to get a different audience, because I feel like I will have a different audience in the nonfiction than what I will have in the fiction. But I also realize that at some point that it'll all merge. Um, Both audiences will kind of merge. That's kind of one of my goals. Um, to help awaken people, and I have more ideas, I mean, if I have the money available to do it. And, my books I'll end up be putting in the Library of Congress after a certain amount of time, um, because I do want them to eventually be free, um, because I'm not in this to limit people knowledge. Um, it is one of the things that, because I'm disabled, I want to do something, and this is something I know that I can do, but I necessarily am not doing it for the profit. Um, Although that would just be nice, especially during this time when um, prices are everything's so fucking expensive. But yeah, so I mean, afterwards I was trying to guess the time periods. I may have gotten some of that. It looks like I did get some of that wrong. Um, but I'll admit that. But it's not that doesn't mean that anything that I said still won't happen. No, everything's been right. I was just wrong on the time periods in some part. Um, but I have, but all that will be revealed. So, for the most part, I'm not going for the timelines. I'm mostly trying to state what's going to happen, and that I knew that the years between 2020 to 2024 would be the most confusing time, because it was the most confusing read, because I was confused while I was reading it, and my attention wasn't full on it because I thought it was a joke. I did not imagine in 1998 that America would turn out like this almost 30 years later. And I still don't understand. And the other reason I'm talking about this, because I don't understand how this person knew this stuff. Not the person who gave me the documents. I mean, that's a whole nother question, too. I'm doing this, for one, also as an experiment. And so far from the experiment, the future cannot be changed. Let's just plainly state that. Two, um, the guy wrote the documents as if he wrote them from the perspective of 1998. But that might not be true either. for all I know. Um, if the person, or if there's some kind of future knowing, or time travel experience, who is to say that maybe those weren't my words in the future, in my future novel, and that I was reading my own work? Now, that's not the scenario that I'm counting on, or that I think actually literally took place, but I'm just saying that that could be a possibility. Um, and so the person who wrote it from the perspective of the 90s, but could have been from the future. But then the question comes back to about the Brian guy. Um, Not the Brian the podcaster, but the person who gave me those documents was named Brian. Um, Man, how did he get the information? I really don't think he got it from the public library. To me, that just kind of seemed a little weird. I didn't get a book or anything like that. He said there were just documents there, which didn't add up. So, and where's this guy now, and why is he not talking about it? That's a major question that I don't have an answer to yet either. And who was this guy, and was it somebody else who gave him the documents to give to me? Because apparently the information was for me, because he pulled me to the side, and he was excited to show me, as if he knew me from a different time period. And that was another thing that was weird. Like, I could tell that he was very excited by the look in his eyes to show me these documents, and to tell me something that I would do in the future. And even though I asked about it, he said I'd know about it when the time came. And if that's true, if I was just gonna know about it when the time came, then why even show me the documents in the first place? I have too many questions about this whole event that happened to me when I was 15. And I was fucking 15. Which is weird enough. I mean, I wasn't even an adult. And here I am, knowing at the age of 15. Well, I didn't really believe it. But still, it's weird. Like, oh, so I'm gonna do something in the future that's awesome. uh, Maybe I'm in some kind of loop. I don't know. But, man, the experience was just weird. Uh, I can't wait to write about it in my novel. And, I don't mind. I'd like to, you know, maybe talking to more people about it, would give different perspectives on it. I don't, yeah, I still find that whole thing fucking strange. But anyway, I'm going to let this go. I was not planning on talking for about 20 minutes. But I did. So y'all have a good one, and things are on the cusp of changing, so keep an eye out for that. Alright, peace out. Bye. And this has been a 1998 production.